And I'm aware that, trustee Smith had informed me beforehand that she's unavailable. And is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
I'd like to add an item to the agenda. Like, I have a question about the November special board meeting that I just asked.
In November?
Yep. So we could either put it after book challenge or make it C and move book challenge down. Should be short.
Let's do C and then do book challenge or, book challenge over here. Any other additions or? Is there a motion then to approve the agenda with the added C as November meeting and then move B to book challenge?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Second by. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Motion made for the consent agenda.
Was that a second or Lindsay?
Yeah, but for discussion, I noticed in the personnel meeting notes that there was reference to discussing the MLA issue at the full board meeting, so if we can pull that out, and maybe you were planning on doing it anyway.
So let's switch that as well for discussion for MLA. So let's add that to be item D, and book challenge will be item E. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. To the library director.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep it brief because most of the time Liz will give us an update on the strategic plan. But I wanted to give everybody a chance, so we're not gonna start this yet, I just wanna make sure it came up so I didn't have to struggle. A few things since I wrote the report, are there any questions on the report as it was written? I put a picture in here of what the lockers will look like, so because it's hard without a visual to know what it looked like. Although we're getting the two for the first picture, I'm just thinking eventually, I'm budgeting next year for an expansion, because a lot of libraries that do get two say they immediately needed more, because people like it. So that's why the picture has more. We're working on scheduling out, leveling that concrete pad, and I got a quote for expanding the footprint the concrete's on. So there'll be more concrete there so people won't have the awkward like step across grass. So it can expand in years to come if it needs to. But we have to do that and get an electrician and run the data cable soon, and I keep getting dates that are maybe, so I'm hoping it'll be done by mid-May.
Before you move on, can you tell us how it works? I mean.
Yeah, I took Donna, who's head of circulation, we drove out to Romeo District Library to see theirs, which is what the picture is. And basically it's like the self-check machine in the building where you walk up, you scan your card, it brings up your account, and as soon as, if you only scan your card if you have things on hold, but when you scan your card, a door just opens that has your stuff in it, because it knows with RFID which door it is. And then when you remove the items from that, it checks them out to you. So that's all you have to do. You can ask for a receipt, you don't need a receipt. There's some other things you can put on there where you could check your account, do some more of that, but I doubt people will stand out there unless they really can't get in to do things. But from the staff side, it's pretty easy. A hold gets triggered. So if you put a book on hold, and there'll be training and I'll show people once we get it, but as I understand it, when you put your book on hold is when you have to choose the location, either in the building or out there. And that's how it can fill up, so I can put outside, I could put the whole pickup lockers, but I still might get to the building before it closes, so I might, and that's the risk of it becoming popular and needing things, but it's real neat. As soon as it's empty, then it lets staff know you can put more in, like, so there's a neat back and forth with it.
Are most libraries going to these?
A lot that can are, Brighton's getting one at the same time, now that we all have RFID, if we're in the shared system, it's easier because you need RFID first to do it. I understand from people that worked here a long time that there were like homemade lockers at Crossroads Branch, but it was very staff intensive then, because it was just real lockers. Like they'd call you with a code and you had to go get it, and then they had to reset the code. So this is really just boop, boop. I'm excited I'm excited for it once it gets in. There's a lot of moving parts. I'm hopeful, May 12th will happen, but we'll see.
Is there, Romy, or on your picture,
Cameras, they come with cameras.
okay, so
Yeah,
that'll be cameras.
it comes with a camera, a computer, a heater. The cameras work, like stay for like 2 weeks on the thing. So if there's ever an issue there, you have documentation of it. And there's a little roof. So it should be quite neat. I wanted to give you an update. I did have a question. I had an email question about your Cromaine emails on the website. Right now we have the president and the secretary's emails up. And I had a question of why not everybody's. And I do think we can do that. We have two choices, and I just wanted to ask the group while you're all together rather than rush through each committee. Libraries that put those up typically have either everybody's email or a web form where it goes to the whole group or certain people or whatever. The benefits of a form are your emails aren't there, so you don't get as much spam. I don't know if you're seeing spam when yours there now. It just depends on if the site's been crawled recently. But they're not. Yeah. So I don't know, they're not private, so there's no harm in doing it other than you may get spam. So it doesn't matter to me. I can do that easily. I just wanted to like tell the group about that and then verify that you're okay with me doing one or the other. Do you have preferences, one or the other?
It's still like a form, a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning like towards a form, just from like the efficiency perspective.
Yeah.
Just because then it goes to
We can
everybody.
have it go to everyone or certain people, yeah. So,
Yeah,
so I can have it go to everyone.
I mean,
And I've seen, so I looked today when I was preparing for this. So an example is, Farmington Library has one with a form, and it's nice because it gives you, please wait this many days, this is the policy, and then here's the form, and then there's a check button that says, I wish this to be included in a public meeting, or I do not. So it's just like, I have a question, or I want this on your agenda, or whatever. So I can do that too. Maybe that's overkill, but then you can know people want it or not. I don't know. But our correspondence thing doesn't say you have to put it in the packet, so I doubt we'll do that.
Just, if you can get everything you want us to know.
Yeah,
I really do.
okay, let's go to a
It's
form then.
interesting. So it's just like, I
Yeah.
prefer, okay, they want to review the lights, but I have a
Yeah.
lot from home. Yeah.
Well, and you have an email on there, that's why mine, I often use the director at, just because then it goes to. Okay, so I can do that this week, I'll send an email when it's up. Shouldn't take too long. I just felt like I should ask before I change something and don't mention it to everybody. And that was my preference, so I'm glad you went that way, but I didn't want to spare you. Having run websites, I can see the benefit of that. And then finally, we didn't have an update. I said I'd have an update by the meeting about the Cromaine Commons on the grant funded portion. So I have allowed things to go out for review because we have verbal that it will meet their needs. And I say that's shorthand. We redesigned the bus turnaround to meet the school's needs, and we have an agreement from the staff and the superintendent. He is running it through the board approval process. They have to look at it, and then before he signs it, he said he saw no reason it would get signed.
Monday, they're talking about.
Great, so it's on the agenda. So I'm not holding up anymore, and I met with Chuck and I said, like, this is your chance to tell me if there's a problem. He didn't see one, so they're out for review with the county road, drain, Township said we can get an amendment without, a formal meeting, they can just amend it as an administrative change. Because they already approved the plan, this is just an addition. And they're working on the final plan, so I haven't shown you the absolutely final plan because they're working on the drainage bit, because there's a bit more needed now that there's more asphalt, which makes sense. But I want you to know we're not in the holding pattern anymore, now we're in the holding pattern of how quick do these approvals come through. And as soon as I see the redesign that's been approved, the drainage, I will call an ad hoc committee meeting. I didn't know if we should schedule it now because I don't know when that would be, but it could be this one. But it's good news. And Liz might touch on this. Are you touching on the garden in your update?
Very briefly.
So just from a high level, the heritage garden portion of the plan that is over at the end that is funded by the grant. We've been making great strides towards getting more detail into that plan. We're gonna have them lined up nicely now. It's actually, from my perspective, good to have them kind of running alongside each other on the track now. It is a little harder to manage for us because we're like, well, that's this one, that's this. So we figured out a system, but we're gonna be meeting with the garden club next week to get some input about plantings and things like that. We have staff on that committee. We have preliminary budget numbers, which we've been going back and forth about because everything's always more. The Friends apparently committed to a number last night that they're gonna donate 2 benches, so that's great. And things are rolling in that regard, so I'm hopeful that once we get the green light, we'll be able to really present. There's been a lot going on behind the scenes, and a lot of it, I am looking at the email and just waiting for the like, you have to do this part of it, so I feel like things are good. Any questions about that? I feel like it's been a while, so I didn't know what lingering concerns there were. I've told staff maybe it'll go into the fall, so not to plan on big shebangs out there in the fall, but we're still planning on maybe it'll happen in the summer. It's hard not to know. People like to know everything, but I'm pleased. And that is the end of my update. I'm gonna let Liz do her strategic plan bit, and then after that, we'll just quickly look at the statistics that were in the packet, if there are any questions there. So I'm running the tech and she is fine.
All right, so this is updates on the progress of the strategic plan through Q3. And basically just kind of outline how staff time, resources, and energy are aligning with our long-term goals that we set. This update is you know, like the 3/4 way mark, so we have quite a bit in motion, and lots that we'd like to complete before the fiscal year is out. So just skip to the next slide, and this is just a. So overall in the total plan, we had 4 goal focus areas. Those are all accessible and who wants them. But we had 33 key tasks to accomplish towards those goals and about 106 subtasks that we set about to accomplish this year. You'll skip to the next one. Super happy to say we have 78.8% of those initial goals completed. We have 18.2% that are like, we're working on them and well underway, but we're not quite at the, you know, check that box done stage. And then we've work scheduled for another 3% of the total goals. So I'll just be like fully disclosing that there were 2 goals that were just moved to the next fiscal year, because when we did like the research portion of it, we discovered that there would be like some significant investments in the different line items that we just like, we didn't have that in the budget for this year. So we just moved them so that we can make purchases that were required that we didn't know we need to make. So yeah, like nothing disappeared, it just got moved to the next year, but we are, there's nothing at this point that we don't feel we'll achieve, and we feel good about where we're at. So skip to the next one if you would. This is just a little highlight of the last 3 months, so Q3. Here are some of the biggies, things we've been working on. We adopted a reworked room use and music hall policies, 4020 and 4021, those were adopted last month. That's notable because for the hall purposes, we've been stewards of the hall for a good period of time now, but we just sort of identified that we were not maximizing you know, our use of the hall, and that you know, lucky for them, but like a lot of the long-term renters, as well as the incidental but recurring renters, like people who come every year for some event, we're really not paying anything even close to a market value. And so as a result, we were seeing revenues and expenses not really looking good in our favor. So we made some adjustments early in the year. And then we sort of reworked the policies again based on like what was truly happening in the building and, making sure our policy aligned with our procedure. And also, just working out the kinks of what we thought might work and where we really landed. So feel good about this. As far as the internal rooms, I mean, most of the internal room space is for free to a patron, but there are limitations and then there are use cases where someone might rent a space. So we tweaked those a little and made those more positive for the library and also fair for community members who want to utilize the spaces. You can skip right to the next one. In an ironic turn of affairs, our phones have been down. But actually, the new building-wide phones have actually been awesome up until the snafu that we're having, which we feel like is a blip and isn't gonna represent the long-term
I
use.
have an update. I just get it.
Give it.
So the update is, it's not that this technology has failed, it's that in some kind of a scam, the company was contacted and said that someone was porting the number and they allowed it. Now, when I ported this number to the new company, there were so many hoops to go through. So they have been working for 3 days to fix that. We can call out and we can call in the building because the technology is working. You can't call us because someone took the number. I've been assured that they will fix it because of their mistake. And I'm getting some credit for the good days we had in that office. But it isn't that the technology's bad. But anyway.
So other than the 3 days we haven't had the phones.
Yes.
I will say that some of the things that are kind of like high level staff are really enjoying is that these have a paging technology. So at some point if this meeting runs long, you'll hear a staff member paging and saying we're closing to let the patrons who are not in this meeting know that it's time to exit the building. And that might scare you, so be ready. But the nice thing about that is that we can reach everybody that's in the building with paging now, and we can also page locally. So like if I just have to tell someone in the back room help is needed somewhere, like you can now do that. Our old phones, it was very clunky and we didn't really have that capability. So that's like both a safety and a functionality issue. And then also these phones, there's an app technology that's paired with these phones. So like as a community engagement manager, I make a lot of calls from home, but I don't feel it's appropriate to call patrons from my cell phone number. And also they may not answer it. They're like, who's this Liz person? So we now have an app technology where like basically it looks like I'm calling from Cromaine. And that is really helpful for me because I have to make a lot of calls and I work from home 1 or 2 days or park days. So it's a really big deal, and I like to, like, I'm so sad I'm giving you this update while our phones aren't working. Going on to the next thing, this is like a behind the scenes thing, and I do not think it's glamorous, but I'm so excited about it, my team worked really hard on this. So, we purchased Savannah by Orange Boy, which is a platform that allows you to do a bunch of messaging. And why I think it's so amazing, and what you're seeing here, is, Savannah allowed for us to not only send out mass emails like we used to use Constant Contact to do that. We would just like, you're getting the Saturday update about what's going on at Cromaine. I'll probably get that. And if you don't, sign up. But when new card holders come into the building for the first time, they're asked if they'd like to opt into receiving any kind of communications from Cromaine. And when they do, we've created like an auto communication to them based on the things we feel like will engage them and capture them and make them want to come back and use that card. So one of the things that we look at statistically is like, did a person come in once because their kid needed a book for a project and then they never came back to the library again? So our goal is to try to be like, hey, do you know all the awesome things that Cromaine has for you? And so like it came in for one reason, but do you know about all this? So we start with a welcome message that comes immediately. And then 21 days later, we have a message that highlights sort of like maybe the digital resources that they don't know about. And then the third one kind of highlights like, do you know all the stuff that happens in this building and programs and what a community hub this is? And then the fourth one talks about like business use. So like, come use a fax machine, come use a printer, come use a computer. So our goal with this series is that it would be like set it and forget. Like we're letting people know they've opted in, but like once they start having a library card, these messages will just go to them in a timing that doesn't feel overwhelming and it's not too much, but can really kind of encourage people to like know all of the depth and breadth of what a library is. Because some people just came for that one book and they don't know, and some people have been library card holders for 15 years and don't know about certain services. So we're using this messaging campaign to highlight, but it's a drip campaign. So once we've done it, we tested it, it's happening. And so we're seeing awesome open rates on these, which like in marketing, that's your thing. Like, are people looking at this? Is it causing them to act? And we are seeing awesome open rates on these, so we think people are, and that'll hopefully keep them engaged with the library and coming back for more. The next one is we have done a homebound delivery service pilot project. Purpose of the homebound delivery was just to reach out to any community members. I mean, this features a senior, but it could be a person who just had surgery or a young person that doesn't drive. So, we piloted a project for 6 months. The adult services department and some key staff kind of like took a very small load of people and went through the whole process of trying to create a program that would be scalable. You know, if we got 5 people, if we got 10 people, if we got 20 people. And so that was completed in November. And then they brought back to the MTM a report and like sort of like, should we continue this? Is it feasible? Like, what are things we need to wrinkle out before we would promote it on a broader scale? And so we did agree as a management team that this was valuable to have. We adopted it and it is now just a thing. So a person can sign up at any time, let people know. If you hear people in the community talking about someone who can't make it to the library, we can bring the library to them. Up until the threshold of 5 users, up until that threshold, our staff can manage the tasks at hand. If we get a time period where we have more than 5, we've already received some feedback from the community that adults would like to maybe volunteer to do this. And so they have some kind of plans of like, if we have to take it to the next like level of service, we can do that. But at this time, we have, I think, 2 people who are regularly using it. Oftentimes with homebound, we learn from other partner libraries. People use it for a period of time and then they don't need it anymore, you know, for the variety of reasons that they were unable to make it here. They either are or their situation changes. So we are now offering homebound delivery, and that is just a regular program. It's no longer a pilot. And the nice piece about this is that several years ago, we took a small grant from the Livingston County Coalition on Aging to do this pilot. And that was right when like almost all the staff that were involved in it turned over. So we asked them for an extension to do a report and some time to actually like complete the pilot, but we have since filed the report. They're thrilled. And so that's another really great part about this is now we received that grant and we've honored our commitment for the grant, and then they're happy to know that they can refer people from this area if they need the services.
So did the people who were in the pilot enjoy it? I mean, did you get personal
Yes,
feedback?
yes, they loved it. It was pretty lovely, like relationships starting to form, The thing is we do have to involve like volunteers. That becomes a whole other like situation that has to be evaluated. But right now I think we have 2 regular users, and just our adult services librarians have all trained on like what's proper and what can you do and not do, and and then how does the actual physical process work. So right now we are able to accommodate the people who need it. All right, and so this is the public engagement session that already happened for the Heritage Gardens project, and lots of you were in this room on that day. We held this on February 7th, and it was a big part of kind of like our piece of grant compliance for the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation grant that we got to build the garden. So they wanted to see us do community engagement and find out what our community wanted to see. And so we had it actually like a wonderful day where we looked at some of the prospective plans and also asked them what insights they could give us into what would make this space really special. And that was, pretty good attendance for a program, just kind of like, what do you want to see? And also during that time, we did some mini engagements, like we reached out to some specific groups and asked them for their insight. And then we had 202 surveys returned to us from different demographics, like so we had we really want to focus on parents with kids because it is a space that is going to have some features for parents with kids. We also wanted kids themselves to respond to the survey. So we had a number of kids respond, and we asked our teams to give insight as well. So that was a really positive community engagement, not just for the project, but you do hear from people when they're upset about something. And you do hear from people when there's a special day, but you don't always get to just chit chat with people and hear what they'd like to know and hear their experiences of the library. So from my perspective, I really loved having all those people in the building and having all the side conversations with patrons about not just the project, but everything. And it was really wonderful. And so when the Heritage Garden plan rolls out, you'll see elements that were chosen by the popular vote of the community during this time. So, and unless we have a budget shortfall, I think we can deliver on most of what we showed as options. So that's exciting. Looking ahead to Q4, we can just jump to this. All right, this is what we're trying to do. We want to install those cold lockers. Again, that's just a visual and it's double the size that the ones we ordered will be, but that's like our long-term vision of size and placement. And so Sarah already talked about those, so I won't say anymore. This is the Heritage Garden. I would love to see us moving to the approvals phase for the Commons and the Heritage Garden in Q4. Everybody cross your fingers, say a little, whatever you do, say a little prayer, because that's, you know, like, we'd love to see that moving in Q4, not just like, you know, theoretical, but like, maybe there's some equipment on the line. And then the next one, I don't have any great pictures, because staff surveying is not some dramatic or beautiful thing to visualize, but we had two goals, within our total strategic plan around asking the staff to let us know how technology was serving them in the building, and if there were any pain points or things that they needed to see upgraded. So we still need to do that survey. I think Sarah wanted to really like fix a few things before she asked the staff to tell her how they felt about the technology, so we're kind of working through those. And then, we already did an employee net promoter score survey, which was part of the other thing, which was like, how do the staff enjoy working in the building? What's their like happiness level at the job? What are some of their concerns? And we do that as part of our Bamboo HR platform. It's just like an anonymous survey. It kind of consolidates the information and lets Sarah know like what we need to work on. And then the goal for that is in 6 months, we'll create a work plan. We'll have some, you know, departmental goals around how can we make it better for the staff. And then in 6 months, we will hopefully survey those same staff again and, you know, with good luck and some hard work, see improvements in their satisfaction level. And that was part of the like, make investments in your people and in technology goal. And then the last thing is a little bit of staff goal setting around the work plan for 27. And that has to happen pretty soon so that we can go into that time frame, making sure we're sewing up some of the things from the original goals. There's one goal we didn't touch, so I said there's 4 goals in this work plan. We did not touch the interior spaces tweaks really at all, because like this is the big one, and this is the one we want to see. So Sarah didn't want to try to be taking on 2 renovation projects simultaneously.
Yeah.
Can't say I blame her. So,
Might roll.
and if you just roll on to the next bit here. So this is what we think we want to see in 26, 27. We want to see that lawn looking a little bit more like that, with the permanent pavilion and those new features. And then, you know, next year is our centennial here, 100 years of Cromaine Library being part of this community. And so we're gonna do lots of cool things and ask the community to be involved and attend events and, you know, celebrate what has made this place like a public institution for 100 years that people really see as integral to the community. So those are the biggies in 26, 27. And we'll just carry through any leftover items from, you know, the existing strategic plan and try to get those in the mix. So that was a lot of words from me. Do you guys have any questions?
Good job.
All right, it's been busy, but this one's like, there's not always like, so much work is done to like do these bigger projects. And so it's like, you can't really see like, I mean, I had 20 meetings, that's exciting, you know, but like, we're gonna see fruition soon and that's gonna be really great.
Always fun to try to get visuals for students. But, thank you to Liz for that update. More to follow on most of it. The other little bit, and I know we moved on to that. There were statistics in your packet, and I'm gonna start adding this at the end of your packet. Every month, we put the next month's out. What do we call this? This is our newsletter. This is our print newsletter, but we don't mail it anymore. And I figured it's usually ready the week before, so it's just for you to see what's going on in the building, because we do a lot of this big stuff. But May is our smallest month. We give the staff a bit of a breather before summer reading starts on June 1st. So there's more white space on this one. Usual, put on the back. It does say what the summer reading theme is. It's Unearth a Story, or your story, or a story. And so there's bits for all ages, but you'll see a lot of dinosaurs because the whole Unearth, there's gonna be a lot of digging. There's gonna be dinosaur feet building and some things hanging from the ceiling. And I'm very excited about summer, even though this is the May one. So I know you probably all see this, but I love to put them in front of people because they're nicely done with this department does this. And I don't know if there's anything really big in the stats to call out, but I was really happy to see. So we do these quarterly, and it's this year, this quarter over last year, this quarter, that's what the two columns are. So our physical visits are up 20% year over year, which is physical people in the building. Which I always find interesting, because you never know, especially because the quarter is through March, so it depends on what's going on. And there were no big surprises to me, but I always like to look for trends. A lot of things are up, some things are down. That's not always bad to have down. Specifically, number of programs, I have been giving the staff instruction to do fewer but better programs, and I do think that the fact that there's this many visits and many cardholders means it's not a negative that it's not going down. Because we were doing so many, staff were all burning out, so I'm really happy with the number we're at, even though it is a decrease in each of those things. Attendance is good. Yeah, unless there's any question, I do think that it's an interesting bit, and the self-check use is way up because they work now, so it's nice when technology is fixed, right? Like it's an interesting bit. So that's it for us. I think we can move on.
Just one question, the placement of the return book deposit out in the driveway, is it getting used a lot?
Yeah, a lot of people we see just drive in, drive out, don't even get out of their car, which I think is nice, because they used to have to get out and they block the entrance. It hasn't been untenable for staff to manage, but it is getting used a lot. We have to come in on days we're closed every day to empty.
Oh,
Or
that's
it'll overflow.
very successful.
Yeah.
That's good.
Discussion decision items, review of the strategic plan, this is that. Review of policies, policy 3010, there were no changes in that. Policy 4010, there were no changes in that. And then, I believe we discussed this before, if there's no changes in the policies in general, that's okay. So just, so what we'll be doing for the future, if there's no changes for the policies, we're gonna move those up to the consent agenda and just kind of list it there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I completed.
No, it's all good, it's all good.
But yeah, rather than vote on them.
Right, it just makes it quicker. Policy 4030. So you have a copy in front of you,
Yep, it's attached to your green,
to the green.
community relations meeting list. The reason these are in red, and I told Janine I'd leave this part. We discussed it in the meeting and we thought we should flesh out the last paragraph, which is in the original, policy. But after the meeting, when I was doing research, I thought we could either adopt what's in red here in the paragraph, or use the much more detailed language that I've gathered from other libraries. Either one would be fine with me. Sometimes I think less is more, but some of the conversation was about where people can stand if they are asking to sign a petition or to do whatever. I did go outside and I measured 25 feet from the door, so that is why it says 25 feet, which is the second light pole from the door. Because it's hard here, because it's not like you say in the middle of the parking lot, you don't want people there. So,
Is that standard for other public buildings?
yes, for libraries. So there's rules for people, if you're a polling place, but it's 100 feet, that's why you see those signs when it's, but it's standard for libraries to have some kind of demarcation plan. We don't get a lot of that here, but it's election year, I know that people might need signatures. Yeah. So I am agnostic as to if we do one or the other. The version you're seeing in front of you with all the bits that is longer has more details, like no leaflets can be left, tables can't be on the property. You can only do it during operating hours, people can't be standing at our door open closed. So, thoughts? I don't know if anybody.
For discussion for that, so there'd be one or two choices with this. We could just go with the permitted areas such as the activity shall be limited to the 25 feet, or the other, when you see in the red, the more detail. The more detail is actually, I think,
Better.
it's kind of, to me, it gives more detail and it's a little bit more clear, it defines it. leaflets, pamphlets, left on cars, things of that nature, but this is a board decision, so. We can come back with a clean copy, but it was pretty much kind of discussing, can we either do the one or the other?
I've been asked this many times over the years, so I would support having a policy with the extra detail and I'll just refer.
Point to it.
I agree, kind of. All right.
That makes sense. Okay, so number 2, so we will strike this paragraph. It's all covered in there. Well, we'll just, do you want to vote to adopt it now, or do you want us to bring back a copy?
It's fine. Then we can just vote and add it to.
So you wanna wait for a clean copy? Or no, or are we good with this?
I mean, I always like having a clean copy.
Okay, okay. So we'll move this to next month then, for a big copy of everything.
I'll make sure it works. I don't think we have to change the title or anything, the solicitation is there. Great, thank you.
And then here were, that was 40-30. Next policy 40-40. There were no changes with 40-40. C, the C, the question for November meeting.
Yes, so, back at the November special meeting, I did have a question that wasn't given to the end of the meeting, and we had a community member who asked it, I think, in February, so, just wanted clarification on what was the purpose for the special meeting being called in November.
Their business.
None of my business.
Well, not said taking care of business.
What is that business? There's supposed to be a clear agenda and purpose for any meeting, so.
But anyway, that's what we were discussing, that was. What was the purpose?
Can you give a clarifying statement for the members of the public to that? Your reasoning for having, because that was covered at the next meeting, so in order for there to be a special meeting, there needs to be some breathtaking time limited impetus.
Well, for discussing the book challenge is what it was called.
Right.
Okay. And
Yeah,
you're more on that.
Offering more time, for us to be able to have that discussion for those who want to.
Okay,
Good enough.
and then, well, I had a second question. Why, if it was an important meeting to call, why did you call when you weren't there?
That was protocol.
You thought it was appropriate to call when you weren't there? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sherry brought it up.
So moving on to D. Discussion, pull out the minutes for discussion of the MLA. Questions on the Nancy?
Well, it just said the discussion, there was a budget discussion apparently. And anyway, it was confusing the way it was written. And I wanted to know where the committee was coming out. Is this the recommendation? And if so, what are the, I mean, being on the finance committee, what are the financial consequences of doing this? Are we saving money? Or are we spending more money because we are still sending people to conferences and MLA related events? And we're paying for it, but we're paying like twice as much if we don't have a member.
Well, the discussion came in the personnel committee regarding that was, because it was kind of written a little bit weird, I would agree with that as well. But as to how the discussion was in committee, the year before, we had paid the dues prior to, and we had already prepaid there prior to the vote. Okay, so it's just like they were prepaid. So in committee, it was say, okay, since the board voted not to, pay the MLA and be involved in there, that was a discussion there, so that the money would be used for programming overall, for whichever other seminars that they wanted to go to as well. So it would be a matter, there'd still be that money allocated in the budget for that, as it was before. But if they wanted to go, a prime example would be, you know, I'll use Liz as an example. She's not a librarian that would benefit from having an MLA membership. She chooses to have a different membership for marketing. So that is included in that budget.
So would the library be still paying for staff to go to trainings?
Yes.
And
They
what is
choose it,
the,
it's Sarah chooses.
do we know
Sarah
the,
chooses.
yeah, do we know the anticipated increase in cost over the year?
Last year, I moved the money from the board's membership into training
And zeroed out?
and zeroed out the board,
Okay.
which is what I want to discuss at this meeting, because the board has the option of money for memberships or training. And the group said they didn't want it, so I just want to make sure the whole board felt that way before I budgeted that way for next year, which we did this year. It was fine. There are free trainings through the Library of Michigan. So I have no skin in that game. I just wanted to verify that the board doesn't want a budget for travel or memberships
So currently there's zero in the budget for the board.
from last year's budget, yes.
So there wouldn't be that money to pull from to cover.
No, I'm just rolling forward the same number for trainings. The concern that was brought to me by staff, since that meeting is that a few of them serve on committees, and you have to be a member to be on committees. Now, it isn't required that libraries pay for staff's membership. That isn't something that all libraries do. It's a choice. It's often a budgetary choice. But staff, a few staff said they would love financial support so they can still be on committees without paying it. It's $170, so it's not gonna break a bank, but we all know what things cost. And I had at least 2 librarians come to me and ask if they could write a letter or try to convince you, and I told them not to bother if you're not interested. But I did approach some friends to see if they would do a scholarship for those 2, if not more. I don't think everyone would approach. And I'll be talking to them about that. I have had individuals offer to pay, but I just wanted to clarify. The staff, some of them really do want support for it. I mean, anyone can join any organization, pay for it themselves. I cannot. It would cost $1,300 for me to join, which I think is ridiculous, and I have expressed that to MLA. But I'm not a member, so you know what I mean? Like, it's tricky. One of my concerns about you all vote, I know you're not asking me, but my concern is the staff are saying that when they're on committees and when they are involved, they provide a perspective from this community that will now be absent. So the youth books, we have a librarian who serves on one, I think it's UPER or the Mitten committee. And it will be librarians from Lansing, librarians from Ann Arbor, and librarians from Traverse City. And then there's her, and she'll say, this community might not like that book. This community might have these concerns. So we're kind of like, I just have concerns that you're gonna lose some diversity by removing this community from those conversations. Now they can still join and pay for themselves, but it was offered to me as part of my package that I would get a membership. So I'm annoyed.
That was my question. So previously, this has been covered
Here, yes,
here, so it's a cut in compensation.
for me mostly.
But if we choose not to fund staff members, right, was it covered for staff members previously? Through the
For
library?
professional staff.
Yeah, so that's
And the example of Liz is interesting, because she gets to pick a membership with the library and stuff. Right? So it's tricky, we're not unionized. I know lots of libraries don't cover it, it's just the librarians they're all having emotions about it. So I would just want everyone to be on board with that. The other thing that came up with the committee that Janine and Kim and Don, who's not here, I don't know what we came out on, but we wanted to know the MLA group offered to send their new executive director to talk about the concerns.
Hello, it is now 15 minutes.
That's our aging system is working.
Thank you and have a good evening.
She does a great job. She sounds like Aggie. But I'm not sure if that's a good idea, because if it's not,
No, I don't.
yeah, so I don't know. But I don't feel like we can't send people for it enough, and they just can't be members unless they pay for it themselves.
So
There's a
I,
lot of, okay, well, there's a lot of organizations, a lot of things. Other libraries don't pay for that membership. If you're in different industries in that as well, in order to be in for certain memberships, you pay for it yourself. I think we've given really good raises over the years, to kind of compensate for that. So you're looking at $170 a year for a membership,
is that per person?
per person.
Individual.
So, I mean, it is a cut in compensation, so we could look at just offering the people who receive that, get that amount and can choose, like Janine is saying, right, get to choose their own professional organization. I do think that this is related to the feedback from the staff, and not feeling supported from the board. And I would also like to point out that one of our 4 strategic directions is increase investments in people. So this is literally the opposite. So if, you know, if we don't want to pay for the board, fine. But this is staff's career. This is their professional organization. These are their peers. This is an opportunity for them to network, learn new things, represent our library and our community. And restricting that, or even frankly, $170 can be a lot for a person. So
Well, if it's plus travel too, is that included too?
That's covered.
Travel is covered.
If it's for work, yeah.
Travel's covered.
So it's really only about the membership, and I'm willing to let that go, I just had to bring it up to staff, brought it to me, that's my job, right? So I was offered.
Well, it's not like you have another alternative. It's the only game in town, right? It's the only association for librarians, and best practices in Michigan are gonna be discussed by librarians across the state, and we would be missing out any of that. And what the takeaway would be.
I do think if the board feels strongly, you should be members and then vote. Because there was a thing that came out today about changing the bylaws of the organization, but I can't vote, yeah. So it's tricky.
this is ultimately a budgetary question.
So that's-
It's been, Dawn has said, so she doesn't like the politics, that it's too partisan. And the board voted on that last year, and I think you would agree. So that's where you might wanna bring them in and say, you've seen this, don't do that anymore, and they say, you're not members. I mean, I don't know how that would go, I don't know that I can control the outcome of that discussion, but there is a new executive director who is young and a librarian. So he might need to hear that feedback.
So this gentleman's offered to come in.
He said he could come next month if requested.
I kind of think that's a nice idea. I don't know how everybody else feels. Dawn has strong feelings, and so I definitely would value her input. For me personally, I don't know, I think hearing from him would be beneficial. And I was gonna say, I think the mere fact that he sounds like he's listening, and the mere fact that he wants to engage. I don't know, my opinion is it might be interesting to hear what he had to say.
So, well, the another idea too was to have them come and talk to a kid.
Oh,
Okay, so
yeah.
and that's where we're kind of going with it too, is to have them talk to the committee and just to see. Emily is very biased. Well, I would like to see John Ryan, if you look at the. Look at the books that have been ordered from the library, if you look as to how past practices have been in the past, as to what they're recommending over the last year, we're looking at different ways to purchase books in the library as well. So.
I think that's a good idea, for actually, I'll come talk to the committee.
I would like to hear it, though, like, if
Yeah.
there's gonna be a discussion for some members of the board, I would like to be able to hear.
No, we can't because
You'd have to
it's
turn.
violating.
Yeah.
And
comments and feedback. Yeah, you know, and so if he's willing to listen to this, you know, I think that, I know. If you want to affect change, then you communicate what you want to change. And if he's willing to listen and is volunteer, I don't know him, I don't know, but if you said he's new and he's wanting to engage, and if he's, yeah, I mean, if he, but again, it's a board decision, but I'm expressing my thoughts. And I will tell you, if he's, maybe he knows this stuff, maybe he doesn't know this stuff.
Well, maybe it would just be good for him to hear.
Yeah.
I've given a lot of feedback about their fee structure.
Yeah.
Because you'll notice it's more of the director, 'cause the director, especially in smaller libraries, is the one who brings the budget to the board. The director doesn't see a value in it. It doesn't get brought. So that's why they upped it. They upped it during the economic downturn, and it was a way to keep the organization going. I get it. But I said, you know, I'm not saying I don't want to be a member of the board is. So, and to have it be, I'm not about to pay $13. It's not worth it to me. I pay $500.
Yeah.
But of my own money.
Yeah, and I think it would lend value to determining if indeed this organization, the MLA, continues to act in a certain way or takes feedback to heart and, you know, and see what happens.
And just to be clear, I brought it because it's a budgetary thing I'm supposed to do with them. I'm not trying to turn a knife into the meat. I'm okay with leaving them. I just told the staff I would ask. We have outside funding if we need it for those who can't afford it. And I will be sending people to the trainings, so the public can pay for it one way or the other. So it's
For the next finance committee meeting, could you bring just
the breakdown.
the breakdown
Yeah.
with membership versus?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard verbally here, but I have it on the spreadsheet, so I can do that.
Yeah.
And that's the next finance thing.
Okay.
And I would think that you would have statistics as to the usage of the.
Yeah, and this year, the budget was not spent well, and staff assumed by saying don't do MLA that they couldn't go. So I had to encourage staff. This year it's in Novi, I'll be sending as many as I can.
So maybe a couple years back, just at what
Yeah,
typical use would have been.
during
Yeah.
COVID, yeah.
Yeah, it's nobody's cutting training.
Yeah,
Nobody's
Right,
cutting
nobody's
training.
cutting
Nobody's
training.
cutting training. And so that, I feel like maybe.
Yeah,
things are
training.
getting-
It flux too with
Yeah.
virtual, I think I put it in here, but there's virtual options now, so some people went to the PLA that was in Minneapolis and some stayed here because they didn't want to travel. And that's nice, it's a different experience, but I mean, we have a really robust travel and training budget, and I'm decreasing it a little next year just because we don't need to spend it, because people aren't going as much. Okay. So we don't have, this is part of the budget process, we can keep talking about it. I am if I invite, his name's Dylan Gashel, I think is his last name. He does live in the UP, so I'll ask him if he's coming or if it's virtual. And then the topic would be tell us how we're not partisan or receive feedback about partisanship.
Yes. Because I'm gonna just, yes. And I'm gonna just throw this shoot from the hip reacting. It's always difficult to come into a meeting like cold.
And
And
so
so.
that's why I like it, I'm like, what do they want to hear?
Well, exactly. So I'm just throwing this out. Would the committee want to like debrief him or?
Or just send questions?
Yeah, something like that.
I can send a thing that each person can send a question of a specific example or a specific thing
Yeah.
they're concerned about, and then he could try to answer those. Do you
Just,
think that would be helpful?
yeah,
To the committee first and.
Yeah.
yeah, because you guys are organized. I see it. You guys are organized.
It's far, away.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's that it comes down, Lansing to the base, it's just they all work, so.
Yeah, probably in the area or something.
So will you be collecting questions or just,
I'm sorry.
will you be collecting questions or creating them or just the
I think
committee?
I should just get it from everybody.
Whatever, sure, whatever.
So if you have questions, why don't you email them to Sarah, and then we can ask him, and then bring it to committee with his answers back to committee. Would that be acceptable?
And to be clear, my goal is not that you change your mind and decide to pay for it, it's to give them feedback.
Right.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, he's willing to listen.
And Dawn also.
Yeah.
And Dawn was open to that, she
Yeah,
was.
she's very open
Yeah.
to doing that. And to make it very clear, we are not cutting budget for training, okay, or travel, okay? So just to make that crystal clear. Any other discussion on that? Okay. Moving on to the challenge update. The board has the option to relocate, move a different section, retain, keep where the books are located, label. As for the sexually explicit label, we put on here. This pertains to the challenge books. The board does not have the authority to remove books. Per our policy, the director is the only person that can remove or read books. Does anyone wish to relocate or label asking for a friend?
Well, I'd like to make the motion that I have every time to go along with the director's take on where these books should be retained.
There's a motion on the floor from Nancy to go along with where the books were, second by. Holly, to keep them where they retain, motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Secretary Armstrong?
No.
No. Vice President Baisley?
No.
Trustee Bolden?
No.
Trustee Naylor? Yes. Trustee Rosso?
Yes.
I am a no, the motion fails. So, does anyone wish to relocate or label asking for a friend?
Retain.
All to retain? Asking for a friend is retained. Does anybody wish to relocate or label dead end year?
Retain.
All wish to retain?
Yes.
Yes. Does anybody wish to relocate or label dreams to dust? Are we voting on them together? Or there's two, right?
Yeah, there's two.
Well, let's do dreams to dust one, and then dreams, let's do one at a time, just. Does anybody wish,
1 and 2 or 2 and 3? 2 and 3 are on the challenge list.
did I, we're there on the search? One and two. One and two.
Okay. Retain.
Okay, so dreams to dust one retained. Is that a yes?
Retain.
Okay. Dreams to dust two. Does anybody wish to relocate or label? Retain. Does anyone wish to relocate or label flamer? I would like to make some comments about the book Flamer. Just a warning to children who might be listening, please take this into consideration. Hey Navo, suck any dicks lately? What's wrong? Thought you'd like a big sausage in your mouth? Who wants my hot wiener? Oh baby, slide it in between my buns. We are all busting a load in this battle. If you don't come, you will have to drink it. Some board members might feel that these books in this challenge are heartwarming stories. I do not. These were quotes from Flamer. Why this book was ever ordered was questionable to begin with. This is what the board has been tasked with reading. I recommend this book be moved to the adult section.
So the staff did choose to put a sexually explicit label on this book. It is, I agree with that. You asked why it was ordered, it's a anti-suicide book. feels.
Anti-bullying.
Anti-bullying, like what you just read is not glamorized or celebrated in the book, that's. So, and I think all of our kids need every anti-suicide message that they can get. But especially some groups, so I'm comfortable with retaining it with the sexually explicit label that staff has already added to it.
Okay, I'd like to do a roll for any other discussion.
Move to adult.
Okay, Secretary Armstrong,
Move to adopt.
Vice President Baisley,
Move to adopt.
Trustee Boland,
Move to adult.
Trustee Naylor,
Retain with label.
retain. Trustee Rosso,
Retain.
and I am move to adult. Flavor will be moved to the adult section. Does anyone wish to relocate or label Firebird? Retain. Anybody?
Retain.
Firebird will be retained. Does anybody wish to relocate or label Galaxy? Retain. 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 Does anyone wish to relocate or label Homebody?
Okay.
Any comments or any? Retain. Retain.
Retain.
Does anybody wish to relocate or label Is Love the Answer?
I would like to relocate that too. Move to again. I just felt like there was a lot of sexual content in it. Again, if there's children that are around or that are gonna watch on YouTube. Page 2, do you want me to just read through all these? I mean, you don't want her to expect too much. What's the point of going out if you don't have sex? When are you gonna do her? You got some condoms ready. Page 193, I just think you might enjoy it if you watched me, you know, it's like saying you don't watch zombie movies when you've never seen me. Page 187, sex is cheating, 186, sex is okay if no feelings are involved. Page 168, then you mean it's not cheating even if you have sex with someone else? Of course not, to me cheating is only when my feelings aren't there anymore. Page 164, went and did it with Sawe after the first day. Many sexual, there's just a lot of sexual inferences here. Then there's, I've met people who hide that they masturbate. Some even have sex regularly. We have no next year. Oh, there's like a picture of people in bed together. Page 102. Like that they'd say I should try doing it with a girl because I might be bisexual. And page 36, she's ugly, but I could do her if I close my eyes. Oh, that's love. I'm on the pill because he wants to have sex. I wish it would just be once, even if it means nothing. You know, that's why I prefer that one. I just feel like it's adult content and that's my opinion.
So is it your opinion that any book in the teen section with sexual content should be?
We're not talking about any books. If
But
we
we all
challenge other
study our
books,
precedent.
I don't know, if we challenge other books that have that, then maybe I'd have to read it.
And again, we're not asking about sexual content. I fully agree there's sexual content in the book, and I know this might come as a shock that teenagers do talk like that.
Right.
We're asking about sexually explicit content.
To me, these are sexually explicit and it's, I mean, according to our definition, that's sexually explicit to me. So I'm voting to move without, if anybody else has any other discussion.
It sounds like comments that people got upset at President Trump for once upon a time. Comments like this are not appropriate in any setting.
Well, if we're going to talk about accountability, I don't think that's the best example. And also, a president of the library is a sacred space.
That's those things in the
With-
United States.
Okay, that's not relevant
Okay,
to our
let's get,
discussion.
okay, so discussion, okay, so move to vote, to move to adult, Secretary Armstrong,
Move to that.
Vice President Beasley,
Retain.
Trustee Bowen,
Move to adult.
Trustee Naylor,
Retain.
Trustee Russell,
Retain.
and I am moved to adult. Motion fails, the book stays where it's at. Does anyone wish to relocate or label M Monster?
Retain.
And retain. Moonlight to Dusk, does anybody wish to relocate or label Moonlight to Dusk?
Retain.
Retain. So volumes 1 and 2. Sure was only the one Moonlight to Dusk.
In the list from Sarah, there's two.
I'm sorry,
In the list from Sarah, there's volumes 1 and 2.
but we only read the first one.
Okay, so I'm just for that out.
So retain or? Anybody wish to relocate or label other ever afters? Retain. 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 And anyone wish to relocate or label the guy she was?
Retain.
Retain. There are 10 more books that we will go over in the month of May. And those, I believe, yes, no, we listed those, or we won't have those online on the website.
I did have an answer to the question you emailed me, I brought you water.
Yeah, someone need a proctor?
Some of the books, that you notice have a label on the inside, apparently that was an initiative a number of years ago by Carolyn, the former teen librarian. That carried on for every new book, any topic, any teen book got one. And it went for a while, this was before I was here, because it had stopped by the time I was here. There was feedback from the community, they didn't like it. I don't know what that feedback really meant, I don't know why, but feedback was they didn't like it, so we stopped putting them in, but we didn't rip those pages out of it. So that's why they're there, and it's not consistent, because once it stopped, we just left them if they were, they'll eventually cycle out.
There was,
No.
there was a,
Go ahead.
there was a question that I posed to the board and, when we're going through the book challenge, you see different labels on certain books. Some of the books for the next set that we're looking through have a suicide sticker in them, and which I have there. It's in the front cover, and it talks about suicide awareness, call the castle on that too. But the book didn't have to deal with the actual topic of suicide, so it was put on there for any book for teens.
Any new book got it, when we got it. I don't know if it was prompted by like a local suicide or something, you know, there's been a big push in the last 10 years to support kids.
Okay.
But that's interesting, because I didn't really notice it either, because I don't open those books that page all the time, so.
Sure.
And I think it was put on the inside for various reasons.
But that was gonna be my comment, I mean, with the rise in suicides for teens and mental health issues. This, I would not consider to be a label, I would consider
it's
this
more of
to
a
be an
resource.
information resource. And
Right.
I think best practices are other libraries doing this, because, you know, for a teen reading a book, I mean, and they're
My concern
having
is,
thoughts.
the legacy is, are those numbers still active, right? I mean, I think one was La Casa, one was Youth Connection. I don't know if the national hotline's still active, still funded.
Not sure.
So, yeah, it's not a label, it's a resource, so,
But what about other libraries and what is
haven't
happening
asked.
in response to?
I don't know. I don't know. But we're not doing it currently, so I don't know that. I noticed how dark the labels were, and it looked like it took a lot of ink.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
I don't mean that, but I think that we could do a smaller white table, but, I think it was a push and then it changed, but I think it was in response to community feedback, and I don't know what the feedback was, I didn't go look, but I did get that.
Okay, thanks, thank you.
That's not very.
Yeah, I just was curious, just with doing this. Next up would be Cloud of Public. Keep in mind, you are addressing the full board, liable and senator are applicable for comments. Say it here.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Yes.
Rebecca Fedova?
That's for you. I have many, not every city and.
No, I'm just.
We just sit here. Okay, I'm just sitting on things.
I gotta find my mouse. That's hard.
Yes.
There it is, okay. All right, you're ready. Okay, hello, my name is Rebecca Fedova, don't worry, everybody says it wrong. And I wanted to, speak to a couple of things. One was the personnel committee conversation, and, it was a very good, robust conversation, and I appreciate that. My concern now that I want to share is that we wouldn't have had that conversation if, I believe it was Nancy or Holly, hadn't elevated that and added it to the agenda, and so I think going forward, topics like that are very important, and everybody here wants to hear more. You see that in the minutes and wondering what the heck is going on. Why are they changing staff's compensation and whatnot? That needs to be put onto the agenda and not have to rely on somebody adding it to the agenda before the meeting starts. And then the other procedural thing that I wanted to bring up is what happened at last month's meeting. Twice, I believe it was the board chair, but it may have been board chair and somebody else. But my brain just zapped out and I can't find my notes. Calling the question. And, under Robert's Rules of Order, which everybody has access to, it is online, it is, I think you can get a training through MLA. Calling the question is not a magic phrase that ends debate. It's a motion that must be made by a board member, seconded and passed by a 2/3 vote before debate can be closed, and that didn't happen. So the, calling the question happened and debate immediately ended. The vote never happened, debate was shut down. The board moved forward as if that was the acceptable route to take, and that is not the acceptable route to take. The second problem with this is that the chair cannot call the question. That is not a role available to the chair. The chair's role is to facilitate debate impartially, to protect the process and not cut it off. The chair does not get to make motions or take actions, period, that drive toward a particular outcome. And again, this is all available as resources, or you can get the little book of Robert's Rules of Order, it's all there. When the chair calls the question, they aren't just making a procedural error, they are using the authority of the chair to suppress the discussion they are obligated to protect. 30-second deadline? This is a breach of procedure, neutrality, and trust. The 2/3 threshold exists for a reason, to ensure that there is consensus in ending the debate. Board training is vital to ensure errors such as this don't continue to happen. The board has MLA access and resources available. Robert's Rules of Order is not obscure or arcane. It's something that we can all figure out and understand. And I'm asking you to use the resources available to ensure that this sort of thing doesn't happen again procedurally. I'd like you to acknowledge that you're committed to running the 5 rule.
Next up, Amber from Hartland.
Oh, I did. Oh, hang on, one. Somebody else. You see? Okay, when you're ready.
In honor of National Librarian Day, which is today, I
brought thank you cards for the librarians and staff, that they are the heart of this library, providing access, support, and a welcoming space for everybody in our community. And we all appreciate the work that they do. I'm also submitting letters from community members who are asking this board to stop the book challenge review and ongoing censorship efforts. These letters reflect a shared expectation that this board acts in the best interest of the entire community. A public library exists to serve everybody, not to restrict access based on personal beliefs or outside agendas. Board members have a responsibility to set aside personal bias and ensure their decisions reflect the needs of the full community, not individual viewpoints. That's why it was concerning to hear at the last meeting a board member express personal views on transgender healthcare and tell members of the public they were on the wrong side of history. That kind of commentary is inappropriate in this setting. It does not reflect the role of a library board, and it does not contribute to constructive governance. I urge board members to remain mindful of their personal biases, stay focused on their responsibilities, and serve the full diversity of this community. Finally, I want to reiterate a question I have now asked multiple times, both in writing and during previous calls to public, and yet to receive an answer. Why are lawyers with religious affiliations being considered in matters related to this library? Why shouldn't a library lawyer represent a library? I also would like to know why this library board removes the Bill of Rights and intellectual freedom statement. I respectfully request a clear and direct response.
30 seconds to go.
Thank you.
Shauna Brito from Brighton.
Hi, so last June, this board severed Cromaine's ties with the Michigan Library Association and the American Library Association, claiming that they were biased. This year, the Personnel Committee recommended eliminating memberships, creating twice as much taxpayer dollars to be spent on training, and leaving staff to pay for membership out of pocket starting in July. This board has allowed personal partisanship to outweigh its responsibility to the people who keep this library running. You are holding tax dollars hostage to penalize staff who rely on MLA for professional development, effectively reducing their compensation and making it harder for Cromaine to retain and recruit qualified employees. You are also isolating Hartland's voice and representation from statewide professional collaboration. I was encouraged to hear that you are willing to meet with MLA and hopefully work out those differences. For more than a century, MLA and ALA have been nonpartisan industry standard associations that provide training, legal guidance, and best practices that all Michigan libraries rely on. Cromaine has never had a board reject these partnerships or refuse board training. This board is choosing ideology over professional standards and responsible governance. You have also removed the Library Bill of Rights and the intellectual freedom statements. These were Cromaine's commitments to equitable access, privacy, and freedom from censorship in the library. These principles have been upheld by both Republicans and Democrats for decades. Removing them signals that this board no longer supports a viewpoint neutral or inclusive public library. It seems you have abandoned nonpartisan governance and fiduciary duty for a Christian nationalist agenda that has created legal risk, financial waste, operational instability, staff turnover, and costly policy changes that have drained resources away from serving the public. Your policy changes have had nothing to do with protecting children. This has been about a church inserting itself into a public institution and rewriting policies and restricting materials to match its beliefs in misinformation, bigotry, and exclusion. And every major decision this board has made has served the interests of Floodgate Church and its political agenda instead of the broader community that you were elected to serve.
30 seconds remaining.
Cromaine's founders believed that access to diverse books and culture was essential for a thriving, informed Hartland community. And this board looks like it's dismantling that legacy piece by piece.
Mary Poppmeyer?
Hello, longtime patron and former board member. A lot of my, observation and comments have been already addressed. So just a couple of things. The employee survey results. I think it's important to the board how the employees feel. And I think the employees' concerns are because of what the board is doing. Taking away their benefits, their compensation package. That's a big deal, okay? So if they have to pay out of pocket for the things that they were included before, that's taking away from their compensation. And don't question their expertise and their knowledge. They went to school for this, you guys did not. I'm also a little disgusted with the hypocrisy of the partisan comment. Because I believe in 2022, some of the board members who came on this board, their whole campaign was pretty much financed by a political party. And if that's not partisan, I don't know what is. Also, certain board members whose names are still on a confusing Cromaine website. If my name was on a website without my permission, you better believe I'd get to the bottom of it. Therefore, I must believe your permission was granted, which leads me to further believe you are not being truthful when you say you don't know who is responsible for the website. Don't forget, Dave Domas was able to get his name removed.
So when's the call to the public? Comments, information from the board, if anyone from the board like to make comments?
Well, I think I might address one question from Holly. In my opinion, one board member's absence from a meeting does not determine the outcome of a meeting. When I call a meeting, whether I am there or not, I trust that all of you are capable of addressing whatever the issues are, with or without me. And my vote is the only thing that would sway it one way or the other. It wouldn't, because I was in the position of president, and my role was different than as a board member in expressing my opinion.
Well, that's certainly true. It's certainly true in a standing board meeting, but you called the meeting
I did.
and gave 48 hours notice for community members to attend, which was very alarming for them. So in order to justify that, and previously I don't recall having ever called a special board meeting, anybody in the previous years that I've been on this board. So it's not the same as just missing a regular board meeting, which happens because we all have lives and obligations outside. I do think it was highly inappropriate to call a special board meeting, not be there and not address public concern about that situation, but I appreciate you saying something.
Sure, yeah, you're entitled to your opinion, just like mine. And I would also like to say the thing in terms of, I wasn't here last month, so wasn't privy to any of these other discussions, but if I were to make a comment about Robert's Rules of Order, to me, it would seem that it would behoove the board or others to make sure that they are aware of Robert's Rules of Orders and to self-correct that as one of the obligations of a board. You know, I've taken classes on Robert's Rules of Order in the past. They are very simple. They're easy to understand. They are good guidelines for civil discourse. And if that wound up happening and without one of you correcting it, I would say that egg is on all of our faces as board members.
I'd like to address that, the comment about the Robert's Rules of Order. And maybe someone else should take over the discussion of the books. Okay, so it's like for that situation, I was the one, that kind of like started doing the book challenge discussions. Because now that I am holding president, this happened back in November as well, with kind of leading the discussion and doing this as well. So maybe we need to have someone else lead it and go for it too. So it's a matter of calling, yeah.
Well, you're certainly allowed to have an opinion and a vote, you're still a trustee, I think the question is just around that particular motion and influencing.
Right.
It should.
Understand,
it
yes,
should
and I
be-
am,
it should
and
be-
I am allowed to have a vote, and I am allowed to
You
have
are.
an opinion as well. So it's just a matter of, this is new territory for us, all as a board, with doing this book challenge. No board in the past, I don't believe, has had to read 220 books, so. Kind of trying to work with it. I also like to address another thing that's been brought up several times, and I thought I had addressed it before with this community member about the lawyer situation, and this has been brought up in several discussions as well, and it was just brought up in committee again. At this time, we're not looking at any other lawyers to represent Cromaine. We're sticking with the lawyer that we have, so I hope that addresses that question that's come up several times. I also would like to give it.
Sorry, comment there, as to the attorney, in terms of his religious perspectives. He has represented, library concerns at multiple levels in, legal proceedings. And so he isn't just a religious fanatic or attorney who happens to have a very biased perspective. He has represented and probably will represent further concerns of library matters across the country.
I'd also like to give a shout out again to the Friends of Cromaine, because I'm fortunate enough to attend a meeting last night with them as well. And I know I said this at the last meeting, but I am blown away as to the amount of fundraising that they do specifically kind of for Cromaine. And all the book sales, the bake sales, the pie sales. And it's actually quite a smaller group of people. Okay, so it's just like, shout out to the Friends. Anyone here can be a friend. It's great. You can be a lifetime member. You can be a yearly member at the low cost for a yearly member of $15. So just had to give a shout out there as well.
Big shout out.
Any other board comments?
Well, it occurs to me that next month is May, is the library going to be in the Memorial Day, right? Nothing has been said yet.
Yes, I thought that was in the packet. I think it's in Liz's update. It's in the board report. So yes,
Yes. There'll be a
Yes.
presence, and
board members are welcome to walk. It is, I started from that. I will not be there not this year, but we've discussed it in community relations. And the theme this year is, yeah, it's in here somewhere. I didn't bring it up because I just assumed.
A veteran sacrifice for freedom.
Veteran sacrifice for freedom, thank you. Liz has been attending those community council meetings on Monday nights as our representative. There's gonna be a small classic car show this year. Your dad's car started.
Yes.
So, they've asked that, like, there's instructions about what to wear and things like that. So you can contact me if you can make it, or Liz, because she'll be coordinating it.
thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Agenda items for next meeting, please.
The dates are in our schedules,
In the notes.
and they should be on the agenda.
And just a quick, I'm gonna bring this up now, just because it's just like giving people a couple months notice. In the past, we have kind of like July seems to be a month, I'm just trying to give people some notice. I don't know how the board feels about, we seem to get the business done in June, August. I don't know how the board feels about, not scheduling the July meeting, or just to give the public awareness of that as well.
I think it's.
Okay, so, I don't know if we need such a board vote on this or.
We would, we're gonna take it off.
Okay, so,
Why don't we wait, I would like to take July off, but let's wait till June just in case
okay,
there's
We
something.
just have to give appropriate notice, and I
Right.
think we left it there, we discussed it in January.
right,
But it was, would we be midstream and we are not,
right,
maybe we'll be at the beginning,
right,
but maybe we could discuss next month and then.
okay,
We
Just
we
throwing
could
it out
take
there.
it off and always put it back on the
Right,
side.
right, right.
If we can to.
Yeah.
let's discuss that next month, okay. All right.
So the meeting dates are, you want me to read them?
Oh, sure,
May 7th, personnel, May 13th, community relations, May 12th, finance, and May 21st is the regular meeting at 7 p.m. Ad hoc, I will add one if I have info. And next month we'll be presenting the budget. That's my main goal between now and then is budget, budget, budget. We'll have to do a public notice call with the calling meeting and talk about the parade. You're right, it's a little late by then, so if you'd like to watch the parade, you can. And then there's only 3 policies. 8008, 009, and 11. They're all board policies that are personnel. Motion to adjourn? Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, right.